I'm your host, Rex Stevens, along with producer Max Woodcock, but no co-host today. Max, I'm starting to get concerned. We had Paul miss now. This is the third week in a row. That's a little trifecta for Paul Tarek. Super happy to have Adam Melhuse in last week to co-host, fill in. If you didn't get that interview, Adam did an absolutely incredible job as a co-host, and it was a ton of fun having Eric Burns from the Arizona Diamondbacks, MLB Network, and radio host himself up there, and now turned triathlete. That was good stuff. So look us up on livingtherun.com for that podcast. You can go on to Facebook and find us Living the Run there as well. But what does that mean for me there, Max? Two co-hosts. They're both absent today. It's just you and me, man. Dropping like flies.
It means you're the central figure to the show, man. That's all. Just a good thing.
Central figure. I've always loved radio. It's a real treat to actually be on here, to be able to talk everything health and fitness. And I grew up in the Bay Area. Gary Radnich's one of my favorite guys. And I start to think about Ralph Barbieri. Barbieri, the Razor up there. He ran a show for a long time. He ran it with Tom Tolbert, Mr. T. And, I always kind of joke to myself, we got a Mr. T ourselves, and Paul Tarek is the co-host there. He's got that same raspy voice that Barbieri has that, people just draws people in. And no Tarek tonight. I know Paul is actually suffering a little bit with a sore throat, and he's still got to get into work. And actually a great topic today. I'm excited about today's show. We got Dr. Dan Murphy on, who's an expert in aging. He's going to talk about antioxidants. He's going to talk about vitamins and supplements and kind of some of the latest there. I looked at this guy's schedule. The guy is he's actually speaking 52 weeks a year. I looked at his seminar schedule. No time off, Max. The guy is all over the country. He's all over the world talking on some of this stuff, and it should be really fantastic for our listeners, because I know a lot of our listeners were participating in weight training. We're participating in triathlons. We're participating in marathons. We're out there exercising, and the goal is to rehabilitate the body, to recover fast, to be able to do the next workout and to improve. And there seems to be misinformation, or sure is a lot of information on different sides of the story. We talked about it a little bit last week with Adam Melhuse, was talking about, how do we grow this food? This food's got this in it. This food's got this in it. And you go onto the internet and it seems like you get one answer here, contradictory somewhere else. And so we're hoping Dr. Murphy should be a great interview. I've heard this guy live. It's been a few years now, but he's got a ton of energy. His goal himself was a minimum to live to 100, but it's not 100 of dysfunction. It's 100. He expects to be running around still at 100 years old. He studies well. He's got a photographic memory, a lot of energy, and he's a fun guy to have on the show. So maybe a couple tips for our Paul Tarek to get this guy back in the studio next week.
No, I'm really excited. Like we were saying about last week, you heard a lot about nutritionism science, and it kind of goes whatever way you really want to focus on. It can be good if you want it to be good. It can be bad if you want it to be bad. But right there with it is the science of supplementation. And you walk into those GNC stores and you see wall-to-wall nutrition supplements, and your body can't need them all. So what is it that is good for you? What is it that's not really necessary? Excited to find out.
Yeah, it's frightening. It's intimidating at times to read some of this stuff, and you get more infomercials, and you pick up a magazine anymore. I don't know if you have lately, but my God, it's just one advertisement after another, whether it's for a pharmaceutical pill or a nutraceutical, as they call them now. It's just oftentimes extremely confusing on what to do. So I'm looking forward to talking to Dr. Murphy there. I also wanted to highlight, for you guys that are into marathons, into running, triathlons, you're watching the Tour de France, seeing some pretty amazing stuff in those cyclists there. Next week, we have probably the most prominent figure in the world of running. Ultramarathoner Dean Karnazes is coming on the show. I happened to watch his documentary this last week, the 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states. Inspiring, incredible stuff. The guy is absolutely incredible in what he's doing, and he takes some criticism, which is really kind of tough, because if you read his books and you listen to him, his whole goal is as much like Living the Run's goal is to get people out and moving. He's not asking them to go run the Badwater Marathon like that just took place this last, actually 2 days ago or the last 2 days in Death Valley. They run 133 miles. It's pretty crazy, but Dean did it again. Top 10 finish, I believe. He went under 30 hours, which is really amazing, but he's not asking people to do that. And he's going back to that concept of that we talked to Eric Burns last week on is it compete or complete? And there's certain people that are going to be competing. They're going to compete to win the race. They're going to compete to do better than they did the time before. But for some people, it's going to be get something on the calendar and complete a race. complete a goal. Get around making a lap around your block, doing something that is a step forward, a step in the right direction, and moving forward. So Dean Karnazes is going to be absolutely a tremendous interview next week. I'm super excited about that. So Living the Run listeners, make sure next week, 6 o'clock, you tune in to get Dean on the phone there. Hey, I wanted to tell a quick story about kind of a Living the Run thing that happened this weekend. You know, I took my sons to that Paso Ravine Water Park.
Okay.
Kind of a fun place, and you know, one thing that I've realized about water parks that's kind of disenchanted me over time is when I was a kid, we used to be able to just kind of race one another on the slides. We'd clog up the slides, people smash into each other, but it was all pretty much playful fun, and it was a good time. You could go head first, you could go backwards, you could go on your knees, you could do whatever. It's become much different than that now. You know, one, you got to stand, you know, it seems like a mile back from the person that's going. They don't want possibly two people to go at the same time. Then by the time the person gets down to the end of the slide, you know, they've got to be 8 miles away from the slide before they let the next person go. And it just seems so exaggerative. But I was in the little kids park because, you know, my son Kellen's at 4.5 and my son Leighton is 3. And so they're playing more in that kind of little kid section. There's a lot of the small slides and so forth. But my older son Kellen was trying to do some of just exactly that. He was going backwards. He was kind of Supermaning it down some of these small slides. And there was a guy there, Hispanic young man. Well, a couple things. I mean, picture this guy. He's got the 80s Oakleys on, which are sweet.
Yes.
I love the Oakleys. Those are coming back. That is truly living the run, coming back to the 80s. He's got one of those hats on, mesh hats with the flat bill. You know how nobody curves the bill anymore?
Yeah.
We used to all curve the bill, man. It's like you got the hat, you kind of folded it up, you threw it in the dirt, you stepped on it, you got it all. Now it's just this rigid kind of deal. But anyway, you know, my son goes flying head first down the thing, and this guy starts to crack up. It was awesome, you know. And, you know, Kellen walks back up to him, and he tells me, he says, you know, you're supposed to go sitting down, and, you know, you put your arms like this or whatever, and Kellen kind of looks at him and says, can I do it like this? And he spins and does a 360 going down on the bottom, and the guy is just laughing, you know. And I thought, this is a really cool thing because he recognizes the situation. He recognizes that the boy is safe. He recognizes that it's a fun time, and he doesn't take the kind of the life out of him, and he kind of lets him live the run on the slides there. And, you know, just hats off to him. I wish I knew his name. I wanted to thank him and say thanks for letting my son do that stuff. And I was cracking up on the bottom, you know, the whole time. My son keeps popping up out of the water and going, Dad, why are you laughing all the time? I said, it's cool, man, because you're doing stuff you're not supposed to, but the guy up there's laughing at you, too. Yep. And it's a great scenario and very fun. And so I wanted to say this, you know, I listening to these podcasts every week and love and listen to these guests, and the guests are what make this show. They're giving us inspiration, they're giving us motivation, they're bringing what we call tips and takeaways at the end of the show to really advance what all of us are trying to do here on the Central Coast, and that is to live better, to live healthier. So anyway, I wanted to, as I listen to these things, both my sons always say, Dad, how come you're not talking to me? So I wanted to say a shout out to them. Hi, Kellen. Hi, Leighton. And thanks for listening. And you know, I appreciate all the support from my little guys. But, you know, it looks like we got Dr. Murphy here on the line in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break to get him back because we want to get full time with him. But, guys, again, we're going to be talking antioxidants, aging. This is really big stuff for your workouts. It's going to help you support the healing process, the recovery, kind of dispel some myths. So hold on with us. Dr. Murphy back in moments.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Since 1929, Standard Process has been dedicated to providing the highest quality whole food supplements. Their philosophy is simple: to provide nutrients as they are found in nature. Today, scientists are finding more and more evidence demonstrating the benefits of whole food nutrients over high-dose synthetic vitamins. Standard Process's unique products are sold through healthcare professionals who are trained in using whole food nutrition as the first line of defense for the body. Visit www.standardprocess.com for more information or to find a Standard Process healthcare practitioner near you.
Hey guys, Paul Tarek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
My name is Chris Randolph, and as a local track and field Olympic hopeful, I've been seeing Brian Quigley at Slow Wellness Center to help me with injury recovery during my season. Brian has not only helped me with some very extensive injuries, but has also educated me on the specifics of how my body moves when I compete. His knowledge and touch has helped me achieve personal bests in my competition and has also helped me in injury prevention. Becoming a wellness patient of his has helped me stop my injuries before they start, making time spent recovering shorter, leaving more time spent training for my goals. From injury prevention to wellness, Brian understands the patient and holistically helps them achieve their personal health-related goals. So check out Brian Quigley at peakperformanceslo.com and find him on Facebook and comment a response to this ad and get a complimentary 60-minute massage.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
We're back with Living the Run.
We are back here on Living the Run, your home for health and fitness radio, ESPN 1280. Follow us on Facebook as well as livingtherun.com, where you can find these podcasts. We are super excited to be joined right now by Professor and Dr. Dan Murphy, a guy who speaks all over the country, all over the world. I was talking to him during the break. Speaking 52 weeks a year, every week, sometimes doubling up. And he's a master at a lot of things, but one of the things that he's a master at is going through the literature on this stuff in nutrition. Teaches nutrition at a very, very high level, dispelling a lot of the myths. Dr. Dan Murphy, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome, Rex. Hi.
Hey, so I want to get right to it. There's no question about it that America is a pill-popping society. Pharmaceuticals have gone crazy over the last several decades. People continue to produce and produce and produce more pharmaceuticals. We've finally seen maybe a little bit, probably not fast enough, but maybe a little bit of decline there. But we still got the pill-popping mentality. We're seeing huge increases in what they call nutraceutical taking. Britain has gone up tremendously. I thought something was very interesting is Britain, they expect to go up another 33%. But at the time they sold 300 million, in 1 year, the United States was selling 600 million in just 2 months. We're in the billions of dollars in that industry. My first question to you is this stuff necessary? Are we overbuying? Are we overtaking? Are we over pill popping?
When you ask that question, the immediate thought is you're talking about non-prescription, non-pharmaceutical products. If you read that book that came out in 2008, it's called Our Daily Meds by Melody Peterson. That book is stunning. The point is that if there's any problem with American healthcare delivery is that we are taking too many prescription pharmacological products. And the message that she gives is that the primary reason we're doing this is because those products are often patentable. And our healthcare delivery system is more or less linked to patentable chemicals. Consequently, if you read that book, Prescription Nation by Ray Strand, he says the average number of prescription drugs for man, woman, and child in America today is 12. For every man, woman, and child in America today, it's 12 different prescriptions. Now, this is crazy, and if you just read the paper almost any week, for example, last week the news was GlaxoSmithKline, a drug company out of UK, was fined $3 billion for inappropriate marketing some of their antidepressant pharmacology. If you read Melody Peterson, she says that companies know what they're doing is wrong. Companies know that they're going to be caught. Companies know they're going to get fined. So they just use it as a part of overhead. As long as the fine is less than the profit, they say, what the heck, we might as well do this. I think America is way over-medicated. On the flip side of that, though, when you're talking nutraceuticals, I'm not negative at all. In fact, I think the problem is not too many nutraceuticals, it's too many prescription products and pharmacological products that are patentable. I'm not negative on nutraceuticals. In fact, I'm a pretty big advocate. I take them myself. My family takes them. We're not crazy. I take basically 8 products. I don't think you have to take 100 products like Jack LaLanne did. I think there's reasons and logic and science behind why all of us should probably take about 8 products on a regular basis.
Let me get in there then. So when we talk about taking these products, one of the next questions has to be, where in the heck do you get them? Because the marketing has gotten so out of control, as you mentioned, in the pharmaceutical industry, I would argue that the marketing has gotten out of control in the nutraceutical industry too, and the allowance for who can sell them. So now you've got somebody going to Costco, you got somebody going to your local grocery store, and then you got somebody going to Whole Foods, or you got somebody going to a naturopath, a chiropractor's office, a wellness office of some kind. How does the consumer better educate themselves to know what products to get from a standpoint of absorption rates and actually helping their cells, helping their recovery, if you will?
I think that it is literally impossible for the consumer to figure it out on their own. I think it is actually very difficult for a professional to figure it out. Guys like myself, I've been working at it now for 34 years, and I still think I'm learning things every day, trying to figure out the best way to go with these various products. But in my heart, I believe that the best protocol at contemporary time is to rely upon a professional, someone who is licensed, someone who is trained in the understanding of the biochemistry of these products, about absorption rates and other problems and benefits that these products might have. And consequently, usually those professionals can recommend brands that are of the highest quality. I am somewhat skeptical that people should self-medicate with these products, even though they are not pharmacological. I think that it is a bad approach for people to do this on their own without appropriate coaching from a trained professional. So I don't think people should just be going to any old store and picking up these things or relying on some of the help that might be at these stores who may know what they're doing or may not know what they're doing. I think that they should rely upon trained professionals, in my opinion.
We're talking to Dan Murphy, Dr. Dan Murphy here on Living the Run, ESPN 1280, The Ticket. Dr. Murphy, one thing that we talk a lot about, or you hear a lot about in the news, is about antioxidants. Talk a little bit about this. Talk about the way cells make antioxidants versus the antioxidants that we need to obtain from food, and how can somebody increase the probability that they're maximizing their antioxidant potential?
When one talks about antioxidants, they should be broken into 2 separate discussions. The first discussion is exogenous antioxidants. These are antioxidants that your body cannot make. They must be in the diet. And consequently, when you eat a good diet, a diet that has lots of fruits and vegetables, etc., you are consuming exogenous antioxidants. As an example, our bodies cannot make vitamin C. Our bodies cannot make vitamin E. Consequently, these must be in the diet, and a good diet would have varying levels of these things. The other category of antioxidants is called it's called endogenous antioxidants. Endogenous antioxidants are antioxidants that are made by our own bodies. They are usually proteins. Consequently, what makes our proteins is our genes. So we eat protein and we get amino acids, and then they are reassembled by our DNA, by our genetic material, and that the endogenous antioxidant rate, it can be extremely powerful. I remember, for example, a few years back, a lady died in Southern California who was proven to be 115 years of age. They found that her entire adult life she only consumed 3 foods: crispy bacon, fried chicken, and ice cream. In other words, a diet that is completely void of exogenous antioxidants. So the question is, how can someone live so long and be healthy without consuming exogenous antioxidants? And the answer apparently is endogenous antioxidants. She was genetically unique in her ability to make some of these products, and the result is she had a long and healthy life. The leader of the endogenous antioxidants would be, just as an example, glutathione. Glutathione is a protein that is only 3 amino acids long, so I guess technically it's not a protein, it's a peptide. But there is a number of nutritional strategies that people who know what they're doing can advise one on to elevate their endogenous antioxidant glutathione. And so we coach people on these things. In fact, of the 8 things I do, 2 of the things I do is to ramp up the production of my endogenous antioxidant glutathione.
Max and I are sitting here cracking up in this studio. You know, we're starting to think about co-host Paul Tarek, who would have been in here. He would have loved to hear you say he could eat some bacon, fried chicken, and ice cream. You know, he often talks about that he gets the rainbow every day with his Fruit Loops or, Fruity Pebbles type of thing. Interesting stuff on the endogenous stuff, and I think that's something that most people don't quite understand. Would you agree? I mean, it seems as though everyone has heard about the vitamin C, the vitamin E, and those types of things, but it just doesn't seem like that is as nearly as profound in the marketing up at this time, those endogenous antioxidants.
I would agree. I find that even most professionals are a little bit foggy on it. I know that when I do my weekend gigs, my weekend classes, when I teach my college class, that there's a lot of misunderstanding. Almost everyone acts like that, but
I think you're starting to break up. Are you still there, Dr. Murphy? It looks like we lost Dr. Murphy there. We're going to try to get him back on the line, talking endogenous and exogenous antioxidants. And this is, this is a huge topic, and I know that's a topic that we talk about a lot in our clinic. Same thing is that there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding about these things, and you even see literature that says, hey, you take vitamin E and it decreases your risk of cancer. You take vitamin E, it increases your risk of cancer, and you kind of run into a mess. Good, we got Dr. Murphy back on the line. Sorry we lost you there. Hey, I wanted to get to this with you if we could. This is a show with a lot of people who we're encouraging to get motivated, to get moving. It's called Living the Run. We're trying to get active and so forth. But we also have a lot of people that are very, very competitive, people competing at the highest level. Next week, we're going to have Dean Karnazes on, one of the top ultramarathon names. He just ran 133 miles out in Badwater, the Badwater Marathon there in Death Valley. Talk to us a little bit about athletes and aging when we start to talk about physical exercise and exertion and the increase in free radicals and such, the increase in need for some of these antioxidants to be able to recover and age appropriately. Dr. Murphy, are you there?
yeah, sorry, I don't know if that was my cell or what.
Yeah, did you get that last question I just said?
No, I did not.
Let me start that again. I apologize. We lost you. I wanted to ask you this. With regards to athletes and aging, this radio station has a lot of people competing at a very, very high level, as well as people just getting out and trying to get active for the first time. And we're saying next week we've got Dean Karnazes on, ultramarathoner, very popular guys. His books, documentary, just finished the Badwater Marathon there in Death Valley, 133-mile run. Talk to us a little bit about exercise and aging, or this concept of free radical production with exercise and how that's affecting cellular tissue and how we might be able to combat some of the exercise-induced free radicals.
Well, what I would tell you is that the guy that started America exercising back in the 60s, he's still alive. His name is Ken Cooper, cardiologist in Dallas, Texas. He's in his 80s now. He's still in clinical practice. And Cooper clinics are really throughout the country now. If you read his original work, it's called aerobics. In fact, he invented the word aerobics. But what almost no one understands is that after 26 years of research at his facilities, he wrote another book in 1994 called The Antioxidant Revolution. And if you read that book, it's pretty spooky, particularly for some of your ultra marathoners. It's a very spooky book because he says that some of his earliest diers are his best exercisers. And he says the reason is when you are exercising a lot, you need a lot more energy, but some of the oxygen that you suck in order to make that energy is converted into free radicals. And it is free radicals that are that are damaging our cells and shortening our lives. And so Ken Cooper talks about it all the way back in 1994. He mentions the autopsy of his friend Jim Fixx, who wrote the complete book on running, and he dies of a heart attack right after he did a 4-mile jog. He was 54 years of age. In fact, when you talk about ultramarathon, just last Thursday in the San Francisco Chronicle, there's an article on ultramarathoner, and they profile that guy, Micah True, who was 58 years of age, died while out running. He's an ultramarathoner. He's only 58 years of age, and he's the guy that was profiled in that book by Christopher McDougall called Born to Run. If you read The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson in 2009, if you read Sugar Nation by Jeff O'Connell in 2010, if you read The Paleo Solution by Rob Wolf in 2011, they're all essentially saying the same things, and that is the more you exercise, the more you need to supplement with antioxidants in order to neutralize the free radicals that you are generating. These guys are very adamant that exercise is a bell-shaped curve, meaning you do none and you're in trouble, but if you do too much, you're in trouble. That optimum is somewhere in between, and Ken Cooper is adamant the more one exercises, the more one must rely on endogenous antioxidants and exogenous antioxidants. So strategies to develop both are probably critically important in direct proportion to the amount of exercise that people do.
I often think of that, you get the Tour de France going right now, and sometimes you look at some of these guys, and they're doing some absolutely amazing things as far as how fast they're going on the bike, how long they're going, and at what intensity. But you sometimes look into these guys' eyes and their faces, and they look like they're 100 years old. I mean, they look like they're actually, kind of wasting away. This is actually true then what we're seeing? We're seeing actually these people that we would kind of classify in this society as the most fit actually are aging themselves faster is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And again, I'm not alone. All of those authors I just kind of ripped off, they talk about it. And just look at some of our contemporary best exercisers. You look at guys like Lance Armstrong and the struggles that he's had with cancer. I mean, if you read Ken Cooper's book, he talks about people like that. He talks about how some of his less than best exercisers truly outlive his best exercisers. In fact, the old joke, you don't need to exercise. Just be a pallbearer for your buddies who were exercisers. Exercise is good, but exercise is good to a point. If you overdo it, there are problems, and those problems are best dealt with if you're going to do it, if you insist on doing it, probably by upping your endogenous and your exogenous antioxidant array, which any qualified professional can help you do and put you on a program.
Simple question then. What are, you talked about taking 8 things, and I know that the listeners out there, one of the beefs on some of the pharmaceuticals has always been that when you take one med, it gives you, 3 side effects. It gives you 2-3 more medications, and then those ones give you more side effects, and before you know it, you're on what you said, a dozen different prescriptions. When you start talking about 8 supplements that you talked about taking, what about if you had just 2 or 3 things to do? Each listener did. You're looking at budgets, and you're looking at what's the most potent thing somebody could do in 2 or 3 supplements. What would probably those be to ensure cellular health?
The thing that I would do is I would probably give you my top 3 out of the top 8, and this is them. The first thing is, if you actually look at blood draws, the number one proven vitamin deficiency in the world today is vitamin D. So we make sure that everybody has their vitamin D into an optimum zone. And we do this based upon a blood analysis. We use a quick, simple finger prick analysis using the best technology. It's a relatively cheap test. It costs us $60 for our patients. Just making sure that people have their vitamin D into the sweet zone. Now, if they're in the sweet zone, then we're happy. But anybody that has lower than 25 nanograms per milliliter, we put them on a vitamin D supplement in a specific effort to get them up to somewhere around 50 nanograms per milliliter. The next thing is that if you look at the studies on omega-6, omega-3 balancing, what they realized, for example, last year for the journal Molecular Neurobiology had that study by the geneticist physician out of Washington, D.C., Artemis Thomopoulos, and she flat out says your nervous system cannot work optimally unless it's in a certain zone of balance between the omega-6s and the omega-3s. So we tend to put people on omega-3 essential fatty acids. Again, we do it after we do a very simple finger prick blood analysis from a lab out of Georgia. The lab cost us $111. We do it on essentially 100% of our patients. And we find that nearly everyone is out of the optimum zone. So we know what it is, we do the analysis, and we put them on that. And then, of course, there is the Nobel Prize from 2009, Elizabeth Blackburn from UC San Francisco. She gets the Nobel, shared Nobel, for telomeres. And if you remember the study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, July of 2009, those that took a quality multiple vitamin antioxidant supplement every day for more than 5 consecutive years had a significant lengthening of the telomeres, which is the best marker of one's biological age. So we recommend a quality multiple vitamin mineral supplement for all of our patients, yet we are sensitive to the writings of geneticist George Brewer out of the University of Michigan, where he says excess copper in your multiple vitamin mineral supplement may be a contributor to cognitive decline and even Alzheimer's dementia as a consequence of ramping up the productions of your free radicals. That was even came out earlier this year in the Wall Street Journal, but we've known this from the literature for about 9 years now, so we're real sensitive to that. So those are my top three: vitamin D, balancing omega-6 with omega-3, which pretty much means you're giving them an omega-3, and a multiple vitamin mineral supplement, watch the copper.
Hey, real quickly before you go, can I ask you, if you can't afford the supplements, with those three things, those three recommendations, what are the lifestyle things that somebody could do or food choices they might make to at least get close to what you're recommending?
There's no food choices for vitamin D. You have to do it by getting the sun or supplements. So sun or supplement are acceptable. In terms of balancing your omega-6s to your omega-3s, it is literally impossible to do by eating fish without getting mercury toxicity. So consequently, we recommend that people drop their omega-6s. If you drop your omega-6s, you need fewer omega-3s in order to create the balance. But overall, people are still stuck with having to do some supplementation. When you come into a quality antioxidant multiple vitamin mineral supplement, I suppose you could always consume 10 servings of quality plant material that is organic and pesticide-free, and you could probably get somewhere in the ballpark. But still, it's almost impossible to do that, almost everyone is going to have to depend upon taking a quality multiple vitamin mineral supplement. But eating good food will definitely, take the edge off. If you read Michael Pollan, In Defense of Food from UC Berkeley 2008, he's not in favor of people taking supplements. He says eat food. The better quality food you eat, the less likely you're going to have to rely on antioxidant supplementation.
It is incredible stuff, great stuff. It's the best stuff we've had on nutrition on this show to date. You're obviously the most avid reader I've ever met. I think the listeners kind of get that too. What are you reading right now?
The book I picked up today to read, I just finished reading a 600-page book on low-level laser therapy. The book that I picked up today is Why Calories Count by Marion Nestle, the nutrition expert from New York University.
Fantastic stuff. I hope to have you back at some time. I know we could talk about so many different topics in even further in nutrition. And I know that you're going to be living to well over 100 years old. I know that you've stated that. So we got plenty of more chances to get some interviews from Dr. Murphy. Thanks so very, very much for helping our listeners live the run and hopefully be able to take a couple tips tomorrow to start living better and get those cells to age appropriately.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Dr. Murphy. Awesome stuff from Dr. Murphy. We will talk more about it when we return.
You're listening to Living the Ride on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
This is really cool, Dad.
Yep, nothing better than camping out under the stars.
Do you think there's any bears out here?
I don't think we have to worry about that. Look, there's the Big Dipper.
Wow, cool.
At Four Seasons Outfitters, they can help you create an outdoor family adventure.
Hey, can we try out my new fishing pool tomorrow?
Sure. Hey, want to roast another marshmallow?
Oh, yeah.
For camping and hiking equipment or fishing and hunting gear, Four Seasons is your hometown outdoor outfitter.
Did you and Grandpa go camping when you were little?
We sure did.
Did you see any bears?
Nope, no bears.
You'll find backpacks and tents, freshwater and deep-sea fishing equipment, campfire cooking supplies, guns and ammo, everything you'll need for your next outdoor adventure.
Hi, guys.
Hi, honey.
Oh, hi, Mom.
So how are my two campers doing? Do you want me to leave the porch light on?
Maybe. Just in case there's a bear.
Even if it's in your own backyard. Four Seasons Outfitters, your outdoor adventure headquarters for more than 25 years. 432 Higuera, San Luis Obispo.
The ultimate choice for sports massage in SLO County? Peak Performance. Conveniently located at SLO Wellness Center just blocks from Cal Poly is ready to assist you to reach your personal best. Calling all athletes and fitness enthusiasts. If you're ready to start alleviating symptoms by addressing the true problems, if you are seeking efficient and effective body work, then you can count on Peak Performance. Nagging injury, losing the bounce in your step, pain or tightness keeping you from training hard and reaching your goals? Raise your standards, raise your expectations. Call Peak Performance 543-8688.
Folks, when it comes to the health of my teeth, I will not compromise, and neither should you. It's time you go where my wife and I go. Go see Dr. Ryan Ross. I get it. Not everyone loves a dentist, and heck, even a few of you out there are scared to death of these offices. Bad past experiences? Well, you ever had a bad haircut? How about a bad meal somewhere? You didn't stop getting your haircut, and you certainly didn't stop eating, so stop ignoring your teeth. Dr. Ross's gentle approach, calming demeanor, and office full of upbeat staff put your dental fears to rest. Conveniently located in a great little house on Marsh Street downtown, Dr. Ross's office exudes the highest level of professionalism, mixed with an atmosphere much like your own home. Look, nobody's in a rush here. It's not a get 'em in, get 'em out atmosphere. Every time I'm in Dr. Ross's office, it's like I'm the only guy that matters. No distractions, just full focus on my oral health. If you're interested in the highest quality in dental care and want to walk out of the office every time with a smile, call Dr. Ryan Ross today, 541-5800.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
We're back with Living the Run.
Quickly, I mentioned this last week. Up in the Bay Area, August 11th, 2012. Golf fundraiser, Caring for Chris. Go to caringforchris.com. Guy I went to school with. If you're in the Bay Area, you go up to the Bay Area, you know somebody up there. Chris had complications from a corrective moya surgery several years ago. Now requires 24-hour care. They're fundraising for him. It's the 4th year doing it. For Chris Suji, they raised hoping to raise $75,000. Again, caringforchris.com. Really cool golf tournament up there. Find the details. August 11th. 2012. Max, great stuff from Dr. Dan Murphy. Folks, if you missed it on Living the Run, check it out on livingtherun.com tomorrow or on Facebook Living the Run. We'll put up the podcast. Dr. Dan Murphy, we're kind of cracking up in here as he's going because this guy is absolutely the most well-read person I've ever heard. He continues to just quote date, page numbers, authors. He's read it all. He continues to read it all, and he comes to a consensus. And it's really, really great stuff. I mean, you can kind of get a sense from him. It's non-biased information. It's just straightforward. Here's the facts. Here's what we know today, 2012. Here's the things that you can do for cellular health.
Yeah, it's great how he's not coming on and promoting his product or something like that. So he's not trying to just steer you in one direction. He's just trying to give you a general overall of, hey, this is kind of stuff your body needs in order to, maintain longevity and to maintain good health. And I did find it fascinating to find that, the omega-3s it's impossible to get them up without either dropping your omega-6s down or, you need to get some supplements to take them. I know DHA is a pretty popular one out there. Just fish oils in general are good for you. But as you were saying at the break, a lot of our good fish supplies are either farm-raised and have too much mercury in them or they're poisoned by environmental hazards.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is, so, it's real important to get to a healthcare practitioner that carries products maybe that are on an upper level, when you go versus buying from Costco or Long's Drugs or even Walmart. There is definitely a difference in some of these oils, as Dr. Murphy alluded to. We didn't get too far into it, but I know he can tell you that many of these companies are not doing what they could do to instill the integrity of the oil. And, you could take an oil and it could be rancid. I mean, I know there's a lot of people, I see a ton of people that come in and say, hey, I took the oils and I was burping, or I had more gas. Well, the reality is you're not digesting the oil the way it could be. There's even evidence that those things can go rancid on you. And so when you're getting these oils, go to somebody who knows what they're talking about on this. Get to a healthcare practitioner that carries these cool products and things that might be able to help you. I thought what was incredible about what you talked about too is the forthcoming of, saying when you're going out and working out, there's a bell curve. And if you do nothing, and I think about Samantha Pruitt, guys, you can check that out, too. We're getting Samantha Pruitt's latest blog entry up on livingtherun.com, too, and she's got that ex-couch potato thing going. And so, if we're on the one side of the bell curve where we're not moving and we are a couch potato, bad news, right? No good. There's an in-between, but there can be too much, too, and I think that's where sometimes we lose that line a little bit. And so when we get on the extreme fringes, as you mentioned, Dr. Cooper kind of brought up when Dr. Cooper talked about these aerobics, is that we can actually die early, or we can actually age ourselves or accelerate aging via exercise. And I just don't think that that's too much in many Americans' heads, because the overwhelming majority is looked at as that sedentary, that obesity, that lack of movement. But the fact is that you can overdo it. And so, he gave those recommendations. He gave the recommendations of the vitamin D. He gave the recommendations of the omega-3s, balancing out your omega-3s. And then he gave the recommendations of the multivitamin and mineral supplement. And the key there, I think, is the whole food multivitamin or mineral supplement. We're not just going into some random synthetic pill that ends up, you see in an x-ray in the stomach, you see a collection of 20, 25 of those.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff out there, you look and you see, and it is so synthetic that it is a little bit deterring to say, oh, which one do I choose? These things aren't exactly cheap. So where do I want to invest my money to invest in my health? And so, having the benefit of a practitioner or somebody who's, trained and studied in this kind of medicine is important.
That's important stuff. I started to think when he talked about this omega-3 and omega-6 ratio, and a lot of people are kind of unaware how that whole thing went down. And there's clearly, you can kind of get into some conspiracy theory with government subsidies and so forth, at the corn industry, the wheat industry, and so forth. But, the reality of how it happens, and there's a great story coming out of Texas that I just heard a couple of weeks ago. But the reality is that when we're overfeeding some of this processed corn and wheat to our cows and chickens, we're starting to see major changes in the ratios of fats in these foods, such that the omega-6 to omega-3 ratios are getting way out of whack. And again, those omega-6 ratios, when they get out of whack, they're causing that inflammation that Dr. Murphy talked about, and we become what they call pro-inflammatory, and now we're set up for things like pain, we're set up for heart disease, we're set up for cancer, we're set up for type 2 diabetes, and so forth, and we're basically set up for breakdown. And so, in Texas, they were talking about these cows that started to fall over dead. They just started to fall over dead. And so the thing is, gosh, what we got going? We got a disease in these things or what? And they can't find any disease. Well, what they found out is that they said that the cows were literally nutrient deficient. It meant that their cells didn't have what they needed. Well, these cows happen to be being fed all genetically modified product. Not cool, right? And when you start doing GMO product on these cows, you get nutrient deficient meat, if you will, and then you feed it to us, we start to be in trouble ourselves. And so it's very, very important, again, to start to kind of pay attention to this stuff, get that back in balance. And, like you mentioned, a pretty good thing. There's two ways to get it back in balance. You either eat more omega-3s, which tend to be harder to do in the way that they make food and meat today, or diminish or decrease your omega-6 based products, which are more your processed food products, your high corn-based, high wheat-based animal products, the animals that are eating those foods. And so getting away from that, can really help people out a ton in this whole thing.
Yeah, and a little combination of both probably wouldn't hurt either. We, as Americans, I speak generally, but consume quite a bit of omega-6 based substances. And like you're saying, a lot of what we eat is fed stuff that we wouldn't put in our own bodies. And so it's important to take the time and understand exactly what it is that you are putting into your body.
Yeah, last week co-host Adam Melhuse and I, we were talking about how lucky we are to have all the farmers markets around here, to have the availability for good product. There's a great story. I saw a lady yesterday in the clinic who's a nurse, and she was telling me a story about a woman who has, kind of a nasty type of breast cancer. One of the drugs they're using for it now that they've had a little bit of success with, the side effect to the drug is that it demineralizes the bone. So one of the things that they have to do for these patients is they load them up with calcium supplements and they load them up with vitamin D a month to 2 months prior to giving them the medication so that they don't end up with a problem in the bone. Well, this one patient had extremely high levels on the blood tests of the vitamin D, was showing very, very great stuff, great levels on the calcium. And so, of course, the natural question is what brand of supplement are you taking for your calcium, right? I mean, what are the pills you're taking, and what about your vitamin D? She says, I'm taking nothing. And they said, what do you mean? She says, I'm juicing kale 3 times a day.
There you go.
Got it? And I'm going out in the sunshine 20 to 30 minutes a day, 90% body exposure. And check it out. She used the natural ways to bring those levels sky high, which is very, very cool. Dr. Dan Murphy just told us about it. He said you need to get up to at least 10 servings of a lot of these plants, and you got to get out in the sun if you're going to get that vitamin D level. Certainly we're not out burning our skin, creating problems, but we're getting just enough to get that vitamin D to be made. We can't get it in supplementation as well as we can get it from our own sunshine that gives us vitality. How cool. She was getting huge amounts in the juicing with the kale, and her calcium levels went up. So encouraging stuff. Great stuff from Dr. Dan Murphy. We'll come back with tips and takeaways. Max and I will wrap up the show here on Living the Run, ESPN 1280, The Ticket.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Since 1929, Standard Process has been dedicated to providing the highest quality whole food supplements. Their philosophy is simple: to provide nutrients as they are found in nature. Today, scientists are finding more and more evidence demonstrating the benefits of whole food nutrients over high-dose synthetic vitamins. Standard Process's unique products are sold through healthcare professionals who are trained in using whole food nutrition as the first line of defense for the body. Visit www.standardprocess.com for more information or to find a Standard Process healthcare practitioner near you.
Hey guys, Paul Tarek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
My name is Chris Randolph, and as a local track and field Olympic hopeful, I've been seeing Brian Quigley at Slow Wellness Center to help me with injury recovery during my season. Brian has not only helped me with some very extensive injuries, but has also educated me on the specifics of how my body moves when I compete. His knowledge and touch has helped me achieve personal bests in my competition and has also helped me in injury prevention. Becoming a wellness patient of his has helped me stop my injuries before they start, making time spent recovering shorter, leaving more time spent training for my goals. From injury prevention to wellness, Brian understands the patient and holistically helps them achieve their personal health-related goals. So check out Brian Quigley at peakperformanceslo.com and find him on Facebook and comment a response to this ad and get a complimentary 60-minute massage.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Slow Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
We're back with Living the Run.
Max and I were talking during the break about who Dr. Murphy was talking about. Lady lived to be 115 years old. Entire adult life, ate 3 things: fried chicken, bacon, and ice cream. Sometimes there's just kind of genetic phenoms that come about, and next week we're going to have one on the show. Dean Karnazes seems like a genetic freak. When you look at that movie, 50 marathons, 50 days, 50 states, we were just talking that after 50 marathons, he had 75% less destruction in his muscle than the average person would have after one marathon. It's just absolutely incredible what that guy is doing. Hey, Max, were we actually on the air this week? Because I know last week we made it. I wanted to do it. Sorry about last week. We had a little hiccup at the beginning of the show, and we were a little bit silent on the air. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to a guy that helps me with some landscaping stuff at my house. He's the greatest guy, Jimmy Alcantar. He texted in. He's a fan of Living the Run, and he said, "Hey, are you guys on this week?" And so thanks, Jimmy. We probably would have gone the whole hour had it not been for you. So if you need a guy to help you with landscaping, there's no better guy, and just a neat friend of mine, and does some amazing work. So Jimmy Alcantar, thanks for helping me, but also thanks for being a fan of Living the Run and keeping Max on his toes there, producer Max Woodcock. Anyway,
important stuff.
We look forward to bringing Paul Tarek back next week with Dean. It will be a ton of fun. I also wanted to give a shout out to a sponsor of Living the Run, Peak Performance Massage, Brian Quigley. He's celebrating his 10th year of massage. This guy is an absolutely fantastic massage therapist. We got a lot of top level athletes that have been using Brian for a long time that come into our clinic and just realize that Brian's touch, his skill, his technique, his knowledge is really second to none to anybody on the Central Coast. So when we talk about getting out and active, we need to also get health to those muscles. And so we talked a little bit about how to do that nutritionally today with Dr. Dan Murphy. But folks, you got to get into Brian Quigley, Peak Performance. He's actually doing a special. It's kind of cool. I thought it was kind of sweet. The first massage he did 10 years ago, he charged $55. So he said for the rest of the month, to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, he's going to do 60-minute massage for $55. But more than worth every penny. Brian's an awesome guy, so please use him. Well, tips and takeaways here, Max, as we close the show. What'd you get from the show today and Dr. Dan Murphy?
A couple quick things. One, that some things you just can't get through eating. You actually might need to supplement yourself. Things like the omega-3s and vitamin D if you don't have the time to get out in the sun, which I recommend you do. You probably should. And 2 is, it's important to not over-exercise. There's definitely that bell curve, and there comes a point where you don't need to exercise 100% 7 days a week. Take a couple days and do something a little bit more relaxing.
Absolutely, and I thought Dr. Murphy's tip of get to a healthcare professional to get a little bit of advice. And, they do those simple blood tests, those blood pricks, to really give you objective information so that you know that you're actually making a difference in those levels, omega-3s to 6s. You're making a difference in those vitamin D levels on those recommendations. Good stuff. Hey, look, remember, Left Coast T-Shirt Company. These guys are one of the greatest contributors to the community. They make great shirts. They made Living the Run T-shirts now and tank tops. And wonderful stuff. So sign up to get one. You can get us on Facebook. Also, Max, you get the Jaffa Cafe today. A little gyro, a little baklava, a little hummus for you. The Greeks. It's good stuff. Remember, next week, Dean Karnazes. Live healthy, live bold. Come live the run.